What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Curry Tech, and today we'll be talking about the storages, the different types of storages for your PC. Now, throughout PC history, we have gone from many phases of storage to now where today we can get storage up to 5 gigabytes per second reads and writes. That is just insane of speeds, by the way. Before that, we used to be running off hard drives that could barely load into Windows at times. These things seem like ancient beasts. Anyway, we'll be going over the three types of storages: hard drive, a 2.5-inch SSD, and an M.2 NVMe drive. Those are the three main ones that are on mainstream today. Obviously, there is PCIe Gen 4, which will be in another video, probably coming out this week or next week, and that is a more faster version of PCIe Gen 3 M.2s. We'll be going that into more detail later. Anyway, first off, I'd like to show you guys what a hard drive. This is a 1 terabyte hard drive from Western Digital. This is the first type of storage I had, and I remember loading Windows and booting off Windows off of this, and it was horrible. It was trash. It would take like a minute or 2 minutes, and all the icons on your screen when you first load into the desktop wouldn't even load in. It was horrible, it was slow, and going from a hard drive to an SSD is a 2.5-inch SSD actually is one of the biggest jumps you can do. Even a 120 gigabyte 2.5-inch SSD is better than this hard drive. I'm sorry, but it is, right? I mean, it just is. The difference in loading times, speeds, and everything are just insane. And I'm going to throw up a picture on screen of my 2.5-inch Western Digital Blue SSD. And what makes SSDs different from hard drives is this: SSDs have no moving parts. SSDs don't have a disk that is spinning with a needle reading and writing, read and write for zeros and ones, because that's how computers talk. Computers talk in zeros and ones. They see things at the lowest level of information, meaning just numbers. They see numbers. We see images, letters, pictures. We see all this on a screen. That is the highest level. We see highest level. And to a computer, English, they don't see English. They don't read English. They just know zeros and ones, numbers, algorithms, and data structures, all these things. And in the hard drive, the reason why it's slow is not only because of the interface, which uses a SATA plug and also a SATA cable, which I have. This is a SATA cable, if you don't know what it is. SATA cable right here. Under this cover of 1 terabyte the hard drive is a disk. This disk is spinning at 7200 RPM, 5000 RPM, and the reason why it's so slow compared to an SSD is because it's something that's moving. It can't keep up with a digital SSD that's just pumping out speed instantly. I mean, it's crazy how fast SSDs, 2.5-inch SSDs, make a difference between a hard drive, right? And there's a needle, and that needle is writing zeros and ones, transferring data and storing data onto this hard drive. And compared to an 2.5-inch SSD, which I have in my system right now that I'm running, a 2.5-inch SSD uses NAND flash, which is a type of controller. 2.5-inch SSD don't have moving parts, and they use SLC NAND flash. We'll go more into detail, but the cons of a 2.5-inch SSD, you may say, wow, it's super fast, how could be any cons? The cons of a 2.5-inch SSD is that it can slow down over time, and that's because of the finite lines of code of an SSD. Because the NAND flash memory controller that's on an SSD, at the beginning of an SSD's life, it doesn't have anything on it. But over time, there's going to be a bunch of files, garbage files, all these things that you dump onto it, besides just the Windows boot manager, unless you have it as Windows boot manager. you have a bunch of stuff on it. And what happens is it slows down because the NAND flash has to go over each line, or they call it plot, I believe, or space. And when you're trying to delete some files, it has to go through all the files and everything, then delete it, then it has to go through the same process again, cycle through to find that space. It's almost, here's an analogy, it's almost like a movie theater, right? SSD's life is like a movie theater at the beginning. It's not filled, but over time, it gets filled, spaces get filled, and there's less places to put information, right? Because that's obviously when your 500 gigabyte SSD is almost up, the speed starts to decrease because it has so many plots of information on it. And that's what I mean by finite lines of code. It can only handle so much, and that's what causes a slowdown. Is because if you're trying to delete something or even add more information, like you're adding a new file or something, it may be slower than what it was at the beginning, because at the beginning it had nothing on it. It could find a space for it instantly, right? It could find a space for in the SSD like in a quick second, but when it's filled, almost filled, it takes a little bit longer to try and find a space for that information. And now we'll be going over all the different types of NAND flash. And the 4 types of NAND flash, as I get it on right now, the one that's in an 2.5-inch SSD is actually called SLC, which is the fastest one and uses the information system or binary system 0s 1s. It uses that digital information of 0s and 1s. That is the main one used on almost every single 2.5-inch SSD. But it also is the highest costing one, which is why SSDs are kind of like $50 or that, but they are still cheaper than M.2s. Let me try to find my history, because I can't find where it was. Okay, so here are, actually it's technically 4, so you have SLC NAND, TLC NAND, and QLC NAND. SLC is single level cell, MLC is multi-level cell, TLC is 3 AAA level cell, and quad, or QLC, is quad level cell. And there is a new process called 3D NAND, which we'll go over later. But basically SLC is 1 bit in each kind of cell, 1 bit. And this uses the digital information system of 0s and 1s. MLC is, however, slower because now the SSD is going to be going over different value points. So it's not just using 0s and 1s, but now it's using 0, 1s, 10, and 11, I believe. And when it gets to triple, it uses even more information points. So now you're not only talking about 0s and 1s, but now 10s, 11s. I forgot what the other one was called. Let me just check. Where is it? MLC NAND uses 0, 0, 0, 1, 10, 11. TLC NAND has 8 values and QLC has 16 values. So the values meaning the numbers, because CLC uses a smaller value system, whereas QLC and TLC NAND flash uses more values. So that's why QLC and TLC and even MLC need higher voltages to get those values precise and correct. Taking in that digital information, that is why SLC is still used on mainstream SSDs. Anyway, moving on from that, SSDs are very nice, they're very affordable. If you can get a 120 gigabyte one with NAND flash controller on it for 20 bucks, 30 bucks, that's a steal if you're just going to use it as a Windows boot. And now, you're probably wondering, why would anyone need a hard drive? Well, the cost of a hard drive is way different than SSDs and M.2s, because hard drives, you can get 3 terabytes, 4 terabytes for almost, what, $50, $60, right? And using in servers, they have these in arrays, meaning like imagine this, but like with multiples of these. And there's a 16 terabyte Iron Wolf Pro, and moving on from that, hard drives are used because they can have like 16 terabytes hard drive for $500, whereas an 8 terabyte M.2 will cost you around, let's check, I think Sabrent was the one that made this. An 8 terabyte Sabrent Rocket will cost you around $1,400, whereas I can get a hard drive with 16 terabytes, double the capacity, for like half of that price, even more, half, my bad. That is why servers use it. And also they can make arrays, and with arrays now, if one of the hard drives die, the whole array won't just like crash anymore. That used to be a thing in the past, but now that has been resolved. Now, let's move on to an M.2 PCIe Gen 3 drive. As you know, PCIe Gen 3, PCIe Gen 4, those are the ones that uses this interface. Oh, point at the wrong one. This interface. This is the interface that lets it reach faster speeds than an SSD, 2.5-inch SSD. And also uses NAND flash, but it's called NVMe because it's a more faster version of NAND flash. And on a lot of these M.2, they use 3D NAND flash, which is basically making the die, the chip size, smaller and stacking multiple ones on top of each other, making room for more capacity. And that's why an 8 terabyte hard drive that like the one I just showed on screen is possible because of this 3D stacking technology. And that's why they can reach 8 terabytes of storage on an M.2 that's this small. It's very small. It doesn't use a SATA plug, so you don't need a cable. However, it will take up a SATA plug on the motherboard digitally, and it also uses power from the PCIe slot, almost like a graphics card. By the way, if you're gonna buy one, make sure you buy one with this kind of connector, because this is the fastest one. I don't like the ones that have sort of like a cutout right, a second cutout right here, like a M. Those are the ones that are slower, but they're cheaper. That's why they're cheaper, obviously. This is a 512 gigabyte. It's in a laptop I had, and I'm gonna use it in a time trial. So now let's get in the time trials to see how each one performs and which one is faster.